You will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, has received a phone call from his French counterpart, Jean-Noël Barrot, said a statement from the ministry. Algeria's permanent representative to the UN, Ammar Ben Jama, has renewed Algeria's call on the UN Security Council to assume its full responsibilities regarding the crimes committed by the Zionist occupation forces in Gaza. As the world is celebrating today the International Day for Mine Awareness, Algeria's representative to the UN in Geneva, Rachid Beledhan, has emphasized Algeria's experience with mines left by France after its liberation war. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. Good afternoon. First in our news, the Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, has received a phone call from his French counterpart, Jean-Noël Barrot, according to a statement from the ministry. The call follows the telephone call on Monday between the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, and his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron. Jean-Noël Barrot is due to make an official visit to Algeria on Sunday at the invitation of his Algerian counterpart Ahmed Attaf, according to the same source. The telephone call allowed the two ministers to review the main issues that both heads of state have requested be given special attention in the broader framework of the settlement of disputes that have recently come up against the normal course of the Algerian-French relations, concludes the statement. The Minister of War Veterans and Right Holders, Leider Biga, has highlighted in Berlin, Germany, the commitments of Algeria in the care of people with special needs and the substantial progress made in this field. Leider Biga, who took part in the proceedings of the World Summit on Disability for 2025 held in Berlin on the 2nd and 3rd of April, on the instruction of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, highlighted the substantial progress made by Algeria under the leadership of the President of the Republic with a view to building an inclusive society, ensuring the rights of people with special needs and their full participation in society to contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. The Minister of State, Minister of Energy, Mines and Renewable Energies, Mohamed Al-Qab, has called for strengthening cooperation between African oil-producing countries with a view to optimizing the exploitation of energy resources. Attending the 47th special session of the Council of Ministers of the African Petroleum Producers Organization, APPO, via video conference in the presence of senior officials from the ministry, Mohamed Al-Qab stressed the need to diversify sources of financing for energy projects in the context of the current challenges inherent in the energy transition and the lack of investment in the oil and gas sector. One of the main issues discussed at this session was the appointment of a new APPO General Secretary. Thus, it was agreed to launch the process of submitting nominations directly at the end of the session, with interview and evaluation procedures scheduled for the coming months. And the Minister of State, Minister of Energy, Mines and Renewable Energies, Mohamed Al-Qab, is to take part tomorrow, Saturday, via video conference in the proceedings of the 59th meeting of the joint OPEC-non-OPEC Ministerial Committee, according to a press release issued by the Ministry of Energy and Mines. This meeting will bring together the oil ministers of 9 member countries of the committee: Algeria, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Iraq, Kazakhstan, Kuwait, Nigeria, Russia, and Venezuela. Discussions will focus on monitoring the rate of compliance by member countries' production cuts agreed for the months of January and February 2025, in line with the decisions taken by OPEC Plus countries to promote the stability of the global oil market. And 8 OPEC Plus countries, including Algeria, have decided to adjust their oil production with an increase of 411,000 barrels per day in May, says a statement from the Ministry of Energy and Mines. This decision was taken at a meeting held via video conference attended by the Minister of State, Minister of Energy, Mines and Renewable Energies, Mohamed Al-Qab, and bringing together 8 OPEC Plus countries that have been applying voluntary production adjustments since April 2023. Algeria has renewed its call on the UN Security Council to assume its full responsibilities regarding the crimes committed by the Zionist occupation forces in Gaza. Algeria's permanent representative to the UN, Ammar bin Jama, called during a UN Security Council session convened by Algeria and devoted to the situation in occupied Palestine on the Council to assume its full responsibilities and ensure the implementation of the relevant resolutions, warning that the failure to adopt this approach will lead to the loss of any remaining authority. Let's listen to Mr. bin Jama.
Algeria requested this meeting because we firmly believe that this Council must speak with clarity and strength. This Council must fully embrace its responsibilities. This Council must ensure the implementation of its own decision. Failure to do so will result in the loss of any remaining authority, any remaining legitimacy. And the word, our constituency, will no longer respect neither the Council nor its deliberation.
Mr. bin Jama warned that killing has become a daily routine in Gaza amid the silence of the international community, emphasizing that the occupation is no longer satisfied with killing, but is exacerbating it with siege, blockade, and starvation.
Killing became the daily routine of Gazans, while the international community watches a genocide unfold live. And like all of us here, it remained passive. The search of bodies after this massacre has been heartbreaking, with children identified only by their clothes, as if the killing was not enough. For more than a month now, Israeli forces have literally blocked any humanitarian aid from entering Gaza.
And the Algerian diplomats stressed that the occupation is insisting on continuing its crimes in the West Bank through killing, displacement, land confiscation, in addition to repeated attacks on the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
While we focus on the suffering in Gaza, we must not overlook the atrocities occurring in the West Bank. There also, the Israeli war machine has spared no part of the West Bank from its brutality. The figures of destruction, dispossession, annexation, arrestation, forced displacement, and finally, assassinations continue to rise daily. Israeli officials have publicly lauded their efforts, and they have made it clear that they will not allow the Palestinian Authority to effectively control the West Bank.
That was Algeria's permanent representative to the UN, Ammar bin Jama. And still in the Gaza file, at least 19 Palestinians were killed and several others were wounded early today. New Zionist air raids targeting a house in the eastern suburb of Khan Yunis in the south of the Gaza Strip, according to the Palestinian news agency Wafa. Wafa also quoted medical sources as saying that on Thursday, Zionist airstrikes on several sites in the Gaza Strip killed at least 112 people and injured dozens more. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk said the Israeli blockade on Gaza may amount to the use of starvation as a method of warfare, expressing shock at the recent killings of 15 medical and humanitarian workers in Gaza, raising concerns that war crimes have been committed by the Israeli military. He called for an independent, prompt, and thorough investigation, stressing that those responsible for any violations of international law must be held accountable. Let's listen to Volker Turk.
I'm appalled by the recent killings of 15 medical personnel and humanitarian aid workers, which raise further concerns over the commission of war crimes by the Israeli military. There must be an independent, prompt, and thorough investigation into the killings, and those responsible for any violation of international law must be held to account.
And Palestinian film director Basil Adra won an Oscar for his documentary chronicling the violence of the settlers and the Zionist occupation army in the occupied West Bank, has sounded the alarm at the UN, claiming that the situation is worsening for villages like his. Said Bouazi has more in this report.
Invited by the UN Committee on the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of Palestinians, the co-author of No Other Land received a standing ovation in a large United Nations conference room at the end of the screening of his film, which won the 2025 Oscar for the Best Documentary in Los Angeles in early March. He explained that his work, intended to let the world know that we live on this earth, had been more successful than we could have hoped. But after winning an Oscar, we are back to the same reality and it's only getting worse, said Basil Adra. The film chronicles the forced displacement of Palestinians by Zionist soldiers and settlers in Masafer Yatta, an area of the occupied West Bank, which the Zionist entity declared a restricted military zone in the 1980s. It shows bulldozers demolishing houses or the walls of a school and documents the provocations and sometimes violent attacks by Zionist settlers living nearby. The settler violence continues. Almost every day there are settler attacks on Masafer Yatta and throughout the rest of the West Bank, continued the Palestinian filmmaker. A few days ago, another director of the film, the Palestinian Hamdan Balal, denounced the brutal aggression he suffered at the hands of settlers, during which he was arrested. Human rights NGOs claim that these attacks in the West Bank have increased considerably since the start of the savage Zionist aggression in October 2023.
And in Sudan, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, has expressed its concern at the massive population displacement in the Mala region, where 250,000 people have been forced to flee their homes to escape the fighting. Said Bouazi reports again.
The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, said in a statement that it is concerned about reports of sudden mass displacement of civilians in the Malha region of Sudan, located approximately 180 kilometers north of El Fasher, capital of North Darfur State. According to estimates by the local authorities, 250,000 people, mainly women, children, and elderly people, have been forced to leave their homes because of the violence, it added. Many of them have taken refuge in neighboring villages. This population movement is taking place against a backdrop of intensified fighting through the region, including in and around El Fasher, where the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees continues to receive alarming reports of civilian casualties. The displaced are in urgent need of food, shelter, medical care and hygiene products. The UN and its humanitarian partners are working to deliver aid convoys and expand their operations. Since April 2023, war has been raging in Sudan between the army and the Rapid Support Forces, RSF. The conflict has claimed thousands of lives, uprooted more than 14 million people and caused a major humanitarian crisis.
And today marks the International Day for Mine Awareness, and assistance in mine action was designated by the United Nations General Assembly to be observed on April 4 to address the threats posed by anti-personnel mines and explosive remnants of war, including improvised explosive devices. A UN Council backed on Friday an anti-landmine initiative led by Algeria, urging countries to adhere to a global ban despite some of Russia's neighboring states expressing they cannot afford this stance. Let's find out more in this report by our colleague Sarah Allal, which will be followed by another program by our colleague Jamal Silmani. As for me, I'll meet you again tomorrow for a fresh edition of our news bulletin. Thank you.
Algeria emphasized that anti-personnel mines violate the most sacred of rights by endangering civilians, particularly children, and turning everyday places like roads and villages into deadly traps. The UN's Human Rights Council endorsed a resolution urging nations to fully implement the 1997 Mine Ban Treaty. However, the treaty is facing challenges, with Finland becoming the fifth European country to withdraw this week, following Poland, Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia. None of these 5 NATO countries are members of the UN Council. Finland cited a deteriorating security situation due to Russia's presence, which is not bound by the Mine Ban Treaty, and the country vowed not to use landmines under normal conditions. The resolution, which was supported by Algeria and other countries, including Britain, France and South Africa, reflects a divide on the issue. The UK reaffirmed its commitment to the treaty, which was strongly supported by Princess Diana in the 1990s. Rachid Bledhan, Algeria's UN representative, framed the push to ban landmines as a fight for human rights, citing Algeria's experience with mines left by France after its liberation war. Algeria began clearing its territory of mines in 1963 after France had left more than 11 million mines across the country, causing thousands of deaths and injuries among Algerian citizens. Algeria, a pioneer in the fight against anti-personnel mines, has always expressed readiness to provide effective and coordinated assistance to the international community to address the challenge of the economic and humanitarian consequences of mine clearance worldwide. Kuwait, also affected by landmines from the Gulf War, described the vote as highly relevant, stressing that mines do not discriminate between combatants and civilians or between children and adults. The resolution encourages countries to strengthen their efforts to reduce landmine casualties and urges non-signatory nations to seriously consider joining the treaty. Over 160 countries, including nuclear powers, Britain and France, have signed the treaty, pledging not to use or develop anti-personnel mines and to destroy existing stockpiles. Despite this, landmines continue to be used in places like Ukraine, North Korea and Myanmar, with lasting impacts, according to the International Campaign to Ban Landmines. The organization warned that withdrawing from the treaty could send a dangerous message at a critical time.
Welcome to your weekly program, Destination Algeria. I'm Jamal Semeni. There are a number of great destinations in Algeria just waiting to be discovered, a curious mixture of cultures and influences. Algeria has something interesting to see in just about every city. The country is also the first largest on the African continent, so you can be sure that there are plenty of towns and cities to visit. Let's visit Algeria's fascinating destinations, you and I together. Today is a special program where we are going to visit the Grand Mosque of Algiers. At present, the world's third largest mosque is erected in the Bay of Algiers. The mosque brings together various cultural and religious facilities. All main buildings in the mosque complex share a plinth that is in places up to 5 meters high. On this raised plateau, they are aligned from west to east in the direction of Mecca. Within the complex, they form two groups. In the west, the place for contemplation, with entrance arcades, cultural center, and minaret. And in the east, the place for congregation for up to 35,000 faithful. A spacious park leads from the mosque complex to the buildings in the south, namely the cultural center, the library, and the Imam School. The 265-meter height of the minaret and the length of the entire complex create a strong presence in the urban context over a wide area. Located only 6 kilometers east of the historical town center and not far from the airport, the mosque, hosting up to 120,000 visitors a day, will encourage the future development of the adjacent district of the city. The mosque complex is linked to the buildings in the south, namely the cultural center, the library and the Imam School, by a spacious park. This landscaped outdoor area can house a large number of people and also offers a haven of tranquility. Through their alignment and height, the mosque ancillary buildings reference the adjoining residential buildings to the south. In the way they are configured, they serve as a buffer zone between the city and the mosque park. The prayer hall, or salle de prière, is a massive cube towering up to 45 meters and able to take up to 35,000 people. The interior, with its choice materials, restrained ornamentation and indirect natural light, creates an impressive spatial experience. All the traditional religious elements such as the Qibla wall, the mihrab, minbar, and Dikka are integrated into a whole of modern aesthetics. Daylight from above steeps the whole in continually changing patterns of light and shadow. The interplay of light and shadow is creating a space with a sacred, if not mystical, character. The minaret rises up to some 265 meters and is thus on the same scale as major skyscrapers. It is the highest building in Africa. The lower stories open out invitingly to the plaza and transport visitors by means panoramic elevators into those upper stories open to the public, in which the Museum of Islamic History is housed. Above it, there are 2 research areas open to academics only. The multi-layered facade is made up of an outer ornamental skin made of prefabricated, perforated facade elements that protect the glass skin behind from direct solar radiation. The 4 access routes at the tower's corners are clad in bright natural stone. The top of the minaret will be transparent. The glass will cover the viewing platforms, one for visitors, the other for VIP guests. They offer a unique view over the city and the sea. The flora columns, the leitmotif for the design throughout the edifice, are flora pillars with protruding capitals in all areas of the ensemble. The flora columns not only blend harmoniously with the local palm vegetation, but combine load-bearing properties with other technical functions. They provide a surface acoustic equipment, while also integrating ventilation and drainage. The building complex forms a successful combination of Algerian tradition and the present. The mosque brings together the cultural wealth of Islam in Algeria with German excellence in architecture and engineering. Construction site work began at the building site for the large new mosque building in March 2012. To protect the approximately 150 by 150 meter large prayer hall from earthquakes, its supports are positioned only seismic isolators. To ensure the stability of the extremely slim and 265 meter high minaret, the base of the shaft is sunk approximately 15 meters into the ground. Structural devices of this magnitude as earthquake protection are unique. In the second part of our weekly program, Destination Algeria, we focus on the Jama al-Jdid Mosque. At approximately 350 years old, the Jama al-Jdid Mosque is by no means a new religious site, as the name reflects. The Jama al-Jdid Mosque was constructed in 1660 during the Ottoman period, and even though its designation changed a few times over the centuries, and reconstruction was done to suit its new purposes, the building survived the French onslaught, which saw many historic buildings destroyed. As the ruling forces changed, so did the Jama al-Jdid Mosque, and is today an interesting structure that reflects numerous architectural styles. Some of the styles that can be seen in the architecture include Byzantine, Italian, Turkish, and Andalusian. Through years of remodeling, visitors will enjoy this spectacular attraction as it is educational, interesting, and breathtakingly beautiful. There are two entrances to the Jama al-Jdid Mosque, and visitors can look forward to exploring the ramparts, domes, vaults, columns, and wood finishes that have been designed to perfection. As the mosque was forced to take on the role of various religions, new designs and additions were made to accommodate each community, and so giving the mosque its unique look and atmosphere. At certain times, the mosque does not allow non-Muslims through its doors, but when it is open to the public, visitors are advised not to let opportunity pass them by to discover this magnificent historical wonder. Every church and mosque in Algeria has a story to tell, and the Jama al-Jdid Mosque is a building that holds the secrets to the past and the good fortune to still be in existence for future generations to enjoy.